Welcome back to the Lessons from Sports podcast. I'm your host, Wayne Partello. And I don't know about you, but growing up, one of my favorite memories of the summer was home run derby for Major League Baseball and then the All-Star game. It was like the pinnacle of the summer. All my buddies get together. We would all watch it. It was the best. Well, fast forward later in my career, having the opportunity to attend that event and now making it an annual opportunity for me is something I don't take for granted. It is truly, at this point in my career, like a giant reunion with all of these people I just love to see. But every year, there's also new people joining the event and new people coming into the room. And a couple of years ago, had the opportunity to meet this guy, and gosh, it was just like getting a burst of my own energy back, and I got pretty fired up. We instantly connected, we exchanged contact information, and have stayed in touch ever since. But in this conversation, we really dove into some of his journey that I had never really heard of before. Sunjay Mathews, from his early days as a corporate attorney in New York, doing it, right? Achieving all the things that people would say are the levels of success, to quitting that job and going to FanDuel in the early days. You got to hear that story. I mean, that was a crazy story he shares, but also then going to DAZN and taking them and being the first employee here in the US, to leaving there and to staying on board and then actually consulting while he was there and being part of the whole FTX explosion into sponsorships and his role in all of that. This was edge of your seat for me conversation, and I'm pretty fired up that I get to share it with all of you. So I hope you enjoy this conversation with Sunjay and myself. All right, so when I have people on the show, like sometimes like I asked you like a week ago or a couple weeks ago, I think you were one of the first people I asked to be on the show when I started this thing, because when we met, I just loved the part of this for me is the journey people go on and like all the experiences that they have in their life, and yours are crazy. I'm so fired up. We finally made the calendars work. Sunjay Mathews is on the show. I'm fired up. Let's have some fun, man.
No, I appreciate it, man. You're making me look back, considering I was one of the first asks, and it's been like 2 years, but schedules and life is crazy. But I just appreciate you thinking I'd be a good guest, and hope.
Well, I also love that you're representing the Knicks today. Like that is
NBA Cup champs, baby.
I love it. We were just chit chatting beforehand, and it's like, of like everybody that I follow on social, like you are like one of the truest fans of a team that I know. I love it. Like you are up and down with that team as it goes. It's great.
Yeah, dude. I mean, one of the things I love about sports, obviously I'm on here because I work in sports, is just, sports is like family, man. And there's so many things in our world that like divide us, whether it's religion, politics, socioeconomic status. But I feel like sports is the one thing where people who might not see eye to eye on anything else can sit side by side and forget their differences and just focus on the fact that, they love this team, whether it's the Knicks or the Yankees or, any other sport. And I just think that the ability of sports to bring people together is really special and probably something we need more in this world. So I am the champion for it. And, one of the reasons why I love it, the amount of people that I never would have connected with purely because we like, the same player that dribbles a basketball is wild. So,
Yeah, sports is special. I mean, I grew up in Boston, so like sports was sort of like bred into you. There was no other way around it. It was everything. And I just vividly remember the early days of going to Fenway Park and that sense of community. You were like, oh, we're all in this together. And, I was just telling the story the other day. I was an A's fan in Boston because when I was in Little League, I was on the A's, right? And Mark McGuire, Jose Canseco, that was the coolest brand out there. And I remember going, dude, the Bass Pro. I mean, it was. I just went through their experience center in Vegas, and you can actually stand in there and they play the highlights of the bat of all the different eras. You pick the one you want, and I sat there, and it was like going back to my childhood. But I remember, like going, and my dad got me an A's jersey, and like I was the only person at Fenway Park wearing an A's jersey, and like the feeling the heat of 35,000 people wanting to kill you, and like it was great. But like I think the way the energy and going through like the World Series runs in Boston and all the craziness that came along with that was pretty amazing to watch the city just no matter who you are, no matter what neighborhood you were from, we're all in this against them. Let's go.
No, it's funny. Look, like you say you're a Boston fan, I immediately want to boo you, right? As a Yankees fan, as a Knicks fan. But it's funny when when I was growing up, we were the ones that were like unbeatable and magical.
For sure.
And it's funny to like be a fan of teams that you just feel like nothing can go wrong, which I think is a lot easier. But when you're a fan of a team where everything's going wrong and you can stay loyal and honestly take life lessons out of it on staying positive and finding, the silver lining. I give the Knicks a lot of that credit for sure. And the Yankees,
I mean, you and I, we met through Ryan Salazzo, who's a Jets fan through and through.
Hey, we have season tickets together, me and Salazzo. So me and Ryan have spent a lot of cold days in MetLife with a lot of hope. That has unfortunately extinguished, but there's always next year.
There's always next year. The Jets,
always next year.
All my friends who are Jets fans. I've got a buddy out here in San Diego, and he goes to a Jets bar every Sunday religiously. And he comes back, and we have like a little get together every Sunday for football. And like he comes in, and we're just like, bro, it's like he's like, it's a lifetime of this for me, man. And now he's got a 12 or 13-year-old son. He's like, I just feel terrible that I did this to him.
Like, dude, my son still is just like, why are we Jets fans? Because, the nice thing about my daughter who's 4 is I just tell her we're winning. And she's like, yes, like, where's the Jet stuff all the time and super geeked. But unfortunately, I can't lie to my son anymore. And he's like, Dad, why? Like, it could be anyone else. But, I think I saw something on social media about like the best partner in life is like a Jets fan or a Mets fan or like any struggling organization, because that's someone that knows how to, find the good, find the positive and stay loyal. Like it's really easy, when things are going well, but the real, value and integrity of a person shows when things are going awful. And
we're going to talk about your career, and like you and I both have gone through the highs and lows of career, and like, the people, everybody wants to be your friend when like you're riding the wave, right? And we've all ridden the wave. We're very fortunate to have ridden the waves we've gotten to ride. But like I tell everybody, like when I quit the big job and I quit that big title and all the things that went along with it, the real ones arrived. Like it was just like some people who I knew would be there were there. Some people who I thought would be there were not there. There were also people who I never thought, like, we weren't that close, who just came out of the woodwork to be like, how can I help? How can I be a part of what's next for you? That like just shocked me. I was like, dude, like we didn't even know each other that well. And they're like, yeah, but dude, I've been watching you. Like I'm a fan of yours and like, let's do it. I'm in. And then there's the people who, just weren't going to be there and they weren't there. And that's okay too. But the ones that loyalty and that like friendship, those are the bonds that like, you're just like like I tell my partners all the time, the one who calls you on the bad day is the one you want by your side all the time. And when you've been a fan of some of those teams, you come in the morning, you're like, bro, how are we doing this together?
You know what? You do it together. And I think that's like the right word, right? Like part of what makes it easier to be a Jets fan, because it's not easy, but what makes it easier are those Ryan Salazzos and the other people that are, kind of doing it with you. And like, to your point, it's like the real ones from day one, right? Like it's really easy to be your friend when you have a lot to offer and you have the fancy title and the fancy company and you can provide them a lot of things. But the real friendships, the ones that will last, all the chapters and seasons of your life and your career, are the ones that, it doesn't matter what your title is. They're just here to have your back. And you can build on that. And
for sure,
I'm proud to have, people like that in my life, including you, by the way. That's why
I really enjoy our catch ups. It's the best.
For sure. Like that super resonates with me because, we'll get into it, but everyone sees on LinkedIn and social media, all the good stuff. Right. But there's always bad stuff and downtrodden moments. And, people who are there for you when you need it are the ones that really, really help.
All right, so let's go through it. How did your career start? And then let's take it all the way through. Like what was that journey like?
All right. So it's a little unique and unusual.
Yeah.
Probably why I'm on this.
I love it.
But So, I started off as your traditional corporate lawyer. I worked at a top 10 law firm called Skadden Arps. Really awesome to get the opportunity to work at a place like that and get trained. Did multi-billion-dollar public and private M&A, fundraising, wore a suit every day, worked till 4:00 in the morning, went home for 2 hours, came back to the office and just did it again. But,
Wow.
that was my life. And I was young,
Yeah.
didn't have,
In New York.
yeah, I was in New York, in
Yeah.
Manhattan, working at Times Square,
Love it.
working on really like massive deals. And then, I had a son with my wife, and it sort of just kind of readjusted what I wanted, because it wasn't always just about a paycheck. It was
Sure.
about, trying to build a career. And I felt like I had a job, but I hadn't really started a career per se. I didn't really feel like I had any ownership. And I just wasn't around as much just because I didn't have a lot of, ownership on my time and my job. So started self-reflecting, started identifying things that I loved. And I
Okay.
was, look, obviously everyone says, you never work a day in your life if you do what you love. Easier said than done, because everyone, wants to do those things, and it takes a lot of sacrifice. But I look back and I was like, look, I love sports. I love tech. I
Yep.
love entertainment. Also the three hardest industries to break into. Great.
For sure.
So, I started applying for jobs like crazy. I had a really good resume working at Skadden Arps, thought I'd get a job pretty quickly. I did not, I think I kept track. I applied for over 100 jobs, probably interviewed at 50 plus, all
Wow.
to say no. And there were some where like, I didn't even want the job, but I was like, I just needed to hear a yes, needed to hear a,
Yeah.
yeah. But,
Some
it was
affirmation. Yeah.
yeah, it was a competitive world. It was a competitive industry, and, it just was the scenario. And there was numerous times where I was like, you know what? This dream of mine is never going to come true. Let me just get back to grinding and, wear my suit and just do like a corporate law job. But I give a lot of credit to my wife and my
Right.
support system, who, told me, stay positive, keep at it, you just need one yes, right? One yes. And that, first yes came probably at interview number 55, right?
Wow.
54, 55, where
How
I
old are you at this point?
it's probably 28, 29.
Wow. Yeah. So you got a wife, kids, married, like
Wife,
all the
getting
things,
married, and trying to figure it all out. And I'm,
just getting kicked
potentially
in the
walking
knees
away
every day.
100%. And then, it's kind of depressing, because it wasn't like the interviews I show up and they were like, we hate you. It was more like you did a couple of rounds, but someone was just a little bit
Yeah.
better, or you went to the final round, but they wanted someone that was a little cheaper or a different background, which all respectable. But
Sure.
it really hurts your ego, your confidence to just get to hear the word no so many times.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure what it's like to interview. It's always the same questions. And then it's hard to like be excited after, your 44th no. There's only so many times I can tell them I have a doctor's appointment, why I'm like not coming into work, or why I have to
Right.
leave early.
Right.
But look, I got that one yes, which was a job to be the corporate counsel of FanDuel, which was a combination of tech and sports.
Yep.
It was very early on in FanDuel's, livelihood, where they weren't the big, monster that they currently are. When I was at FanDuel, we were like on the verge of bankruptcy. And
Right.
my first week there, the first 7 days, we got a letter from the New York Attorney General Schneiderman saying, hey, you're operating an illegal gambling company. We're shutting you down. And I wait a second. So I just
I just got my yes.
yeah, I just finally got my one yes. And now this guy I've never heard of, who's the New York Attorney General, is saying you're the king. So I'm like, what have I done? Like, finally in sports, and like I might go to jail. Like, what is this? But I feel like that
Wow.
incident has sort of been like a learning, like a jump off point for me in my career, where, we navigated it, right? Like, it sucked, but obviously, we negotiated, we defended our situation. We did what we had to do to get FanDuel back on track. I helped position it with a lot of other executives to get it to be acquired. And then obviously the regulations changed. For those who aren't familiar, PASPA was a regulation that was repealed that allowed sports gambling to be legalized by states. And then boom, FanDuel took off. But
Here we go.
it's funny, the 2 years I was there, every day was can we pay rent? Can we pay our salaries next month?
Yep.
Are we going to get shut down by the government? Are some of us going to have to go to court and testify in front of Congress? It was nuts.
Wild.
And to be honest, lots of opportunities for me to quit and just go back to a very safe role at a law firm or a different company. But I don't know. I was invigorated by it. I really enjoyed the opportunity to provide value and sort of navigate, because it's really easy, to work at a job where everything's going well. We were kind of talking about that in sports fandom. It's really easy to be a fan of the Oklahoma City Thunder right now because they are, one of the best teams and might make the regular season record and the defending champs. But it's not so easy when everything was going bad and things weren't going so well for them. So for me, it was, okay, how do I navigate this? How do I learn from this? And candidly, like, what's the worst that's going to happen, right? Like, if we get shut down, I can always find another job. I can always, go back to a safe role and kind of just, say this just wasn't in it for me in the universe. But when am I ever going to have the opportunity to be, frontline, dealing with this kind of a crisis? And then that was the first crisis I ever dealt with. And because of said crisis, anytime I've had crisis in my career in future, job openings and job positions, I've sort of just been like, cool, let's get after it. Let's figure it out. Because there's always a way to figure stuff out, if people are open-minded and positive and, you have the right people in the room.
And the one thing different in the industries that you were in, that I've been in, these are very public, like, situations, right? So it's not like you're dealing with a situation at work and then you go home and nobody's talking about, like, you go to a barbecue with your kids and everybody's I think that was one of the things that I had a real tough time with when I dealt with my, like, first of many crises when I became, when I was with the Padres and we were dealing with situations like that. And then you get home and you just want to, like, breathe for a second and you, like, go to do something with your kids and someone's like, wow, tough week at the office, huh? And you're like, buddy, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, we're working and the scrutiny that comes along with it, right? Of people going, this attorney doesn't know what he's doing. Da, 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 da. Like, everybody's an armchair corporate attorney or an armchair marketer or whatever, and going, why would they do it this way? And you're like, trying to stay the course and convince everybody internally to block out the noise and actually stay focused on, hey, we can fix this. And we're going to address, that's a bad thing. Got it. Now, what happened? How did it happen? How do we learn from it? And how do we position ourselves to navigate through or around this crisis? Because it's already happened. So what do we do? Because we can't run away.
No, 100%. The public aspect of your problems is just something that, to your point, when I go to these barbecues and people are like, oh, because everyone always asks when you meet people for the first time, what's the first question they ask? What's your name and what do you do?
Yep.
And you say, hey, at the time I work at FanDuel and there are Sports Center articles and New York Times articles and things about it. They're like, oh, like you work for that illegal gambling company? And I'm
That's
like,
exactly right.
Christ, like, one, that's just not accurate, right? But there's no point in trying to explain it.
You're going to debate it with, Chuck.
It's like, well, actually, according to PASPA regulation 3.4, like, there's just no point. So you sort of just, nod and shake, and it's like, it's not the full truth, but, like, give it some time. And there's a lot of misreporting out there too, and clickbait, which has gotten even worse in, like, this current environment. But
it's crazy.
Look, you just block out the noise.
That's it.
Do your job. And, like, once again, to your point, like, you just stay positive, right?
Yeah.
Like, bringing negativity into an already negative situation doesn't serve anyone. So I just found my role, at least in those scenarios of crisis, was to be level-headed, to provide objective advice and objective counsel, and just kind of keep everyone, like, upbeat, right?
Yeah.
Because it's really easy to just kind of look in the mirror and feel bad for yourself and just kind of give up. But, and I'm not going to lie, there were days where I was like, this is hopeless. But that's when other people on my team needed to
pick you up,
right? We all need to, like, bring each other up. So look, obviously, the ending of FanDuel is quite obvious. We obviously navigated the right regulatory hurdles.
Sure did.
Got positioned to be acquired, one of the number one sports books, in the country, doing better and better. And I'm proud of what, the role I played early on, because I'm not saying it's easy to work at FanDuel now, but it's a lot easier, a lot easier than when
A
I was
little bit different. It's
Yeah.
just different, right? You go to that barbecue and people are like, FanDuel, fist bump, that's
Yeah.
amazing. They're like, not
It's like,
the
how and to your point when we were talking earlier about, the people that are there for you when things are going well, I don't think it's very hard to be friends or make relationships or do business development at FanDuel now, because so much capital, so much
Sure.
market share, so much success versus, oh, you're at that company that's on the verge of bankruptcy. You're on that company that might not be around in a couple of years. Okay, whatever. Like, do I have time for you? Do I want to network with you? Do I see the value in you as a person and I want to get to know you better? So to your point, the ones who did are the ones I'm still friends with. The ones who saw the value in me, saw the value in our relationship more so than my title
the
and the
logo that was on your business card.
100%. Yeah. So
when I was taking the job to come to San Diego, I think I may have told you this. I was working on a project with Qualcomm. I'm not going to name the person, but I took the job at the Padres. And he was like, "What are you doing? Who wants to work for the Padres? Like, why would you want to go there? Nobody cares. I live in San Diego, buddy. Nobody cares. Good luck." Like, terrible decision, literally terrible decision. And I was like, but that's what I live for. I'm going to change your mind. I'm not going to just change that's what I get out of bed in the morning. I'm going to fix that. And he was like, yeah, sure. Good luck. And, years later got a message and he was like, well,
you fixed
guess
it.
I was wrong.
No, look, like there were a lot of people when I left Skadden to go to a FanDuel, Skadden, very well respected firm, really good salary and benefits and bonus. They're like, "You're going to go to FanDuel? Are you sure about that?" Like, but to your point, like, I took the leap of faith, which, I was definitely questioning once I was there and, things weren't going so good, but it's also how I, inadvertently found out what I really love, which is I want to work in disruptive industries where you can provide a lot of value and have like your mark on the opportunity versus going to a place where everything's going well and your only job is not to mess it up. Right.
And like the same, buddy. That's why we get along.
Yeah.
Like,
and there's some people that love that, and more power
they
to
do.
you. And like, that's awesome. And I think there's a specific skill set to be the type of person to go to a place that's just killing it and just be like, all right, let's marginally improve, but let's make sure we don't mess this up. We have a golden goose. Where for me, it's like, all right, we have an ugly duckling. How do we turn this into a swan? Right. And to me, that's what invigorated me, where it's not like I worked less at FanDuel than I did at Skadden, but the type of work that I was doing, the type of value I felt like I was providing, the type of value I was receiving was just significantly different. And that's what sort of educated me on what I wanted in my career, where it wasn't just a job where showed up, clocked in, and got paid, but it was more of a, okay, I get it now. I get what gets my, my heart thumping, what gets my blood going, what gets me excited. And I want this feeling and I'm going to chase it. And
I tell young people all the time, your 20s and most of your 30s really is figuring that out right there. What gets me up that, like, maybe when I was a kid, I thought, oh, I want to work in sports. And I've mentored so many kids that did that, got into sports. And were like, I just don't enjoy this facet of it, maybe a different facet, but eliminating the things that you don't enjoy and really start to narrow down the scope. And if you can, at a certain point in your life, know exactly what that list looks like, that you say, I could do that every day, right? Like, just that. If I could do that every day, I won. And it's going to change over time. And you're going to eliminate things that you thought were, you getting a job at a massive law firm in New York is, people strive their whole lives for that. You did it. And you're like, you go do something else. And people think you're crazy. But it takes a lot of guts to walk away from what everybody else deems as the right course for you. And you're like,
I appreciate that. No, and you're right. Like, there's a lot of people that were like, are you sure about this? And it really was a risk. But like, for me,
for sure,
to your point, like, I don't know if I would be as comfortable taking that risk in my 40s, but like in my 20s, like, that's similar to you. Like, people reach out and, I've mentored some kids and I always tell them, like, this is the time to fuck up. Like, seriously, right? Like, this is the time to take big chances and fly across the country and relocate and take a chance on a team or on a league or on a scenario that most people wouldn't, because that's where, and it might not work out. Like, I'm grateful that FanDuel worked out the way it did, but I don't think I regret my decision in any fashion, even if it didn't. Even if FanDuel didn't figure itself out, the learnings about myself from that experience served me so much more so than anything else. And
those failures, even if it failed holistically, you come out of that. I mean, you've gone through the battle. You literally, you come out the other side. I mean, I use this analogy all the time. There was a moment when I was at the Padres where everything exploded around me. I felt like I was that action star in a movie, dusting, like wiping the soot out of my eyes, going, how am I still here? And okay, I've got a chance to do something special here. Let's take this and run with it. But I just went through it all. Like, let's go. Like, you threw your best at me. I'm still standing. Let's play, baby. No, and I think that is, for you, either way, you were getting battle tested every day with that type of an experience.
Yeah. I mean, you learn, I feel like you learn more from your failures than your wins, right? Like
that's what stays with you.
I don't wish failure on people, but like, I'm a father of 2, and like, I do want them to experience failure. I want them to have tough times. It's weird to say that, right? Like, I'm not wishing it upon them. I'm not wishing pain upon them, but it's going to provide them so much character development versus if their entire life is just easy. And when they get their first, stumble and they don't know how to deal with it versus them learning about that, kind of with your safe space. Like for me, all the failures in my life taught me about myself, taught me about my network, and taught me about who my real friends were, which we kind of touched upon, earlier on. It's really easy for people to support you when you're winning. Winning is easy. Winning's fun. I'm not saying like don't aim for that, but I just feel like I learned a lot more over my career on all my failures, which I take so much from that have allowed me to win as much as I have in my career. Right. So
this is going to timestamp this episode, but like when this weekend John Cena retired and I got to relive this experience that we had, which was we had a player coming up through the minor league system. His name was Logan Allen, and he, out of random occurrence, ends up having dinner late night in Tampa with John Cena. John saw them in a restaurant, calls them over. They realized they were baseball players. They started, and John Cena looks at this kid. He's like, "You've never faced any like failure in your life. You've just been a talented athlete. You are gifted, and you're on a course to become a Major League Baseball player." He's like, "I'm going to bet you $1 you don't make it." He's like, "Because nobody in your life has bet against you, and I'm going to do it. Everybody bet against me, and it fueled me. So I want you to see my face every day." And they became buddies. They would FaceTime each other, stay in touch. And he said, if you win the bet, I will fly to whatever city you're in and I will deliver my $1. So we got to actually produce a whole like little mini video of John Cena telling the story, the kid telling the story. And then I have goosebumps. He shows up and delivers the $1 bill on the mound at this kid as he's about to make his major league debut. And pretty special. I mean, but that's it, right? Like that kid, and he tells it, he goes, "It was somebody bet against me. Let's go." Like, I want that. And I agree with you. It's hard. We've given, we're fortunate to give our kids an amazing life and all the things, but yeah, I have that struggle all the time of like, and my daughter literally debated me on it. She's like, "You think you're the only one that's had a hard time?" I'm like, no. I don't. I know a lot of people do. I just know you haven't. Like, that's the difference here. Like, she's like, "I have bad days." I'm like, "I get it, but your bad day isn't wondering whether there's going to be food on the table."
Correct.
Like, that's real grit, man. Like, that's real stuff. And I don't know how to solve for that. It's just, you hope that you be there for them as a support system and give them the sort of, the love and you don't want to, I'm with you. I'm like having a hard time. Like, you don't want to wish failure on them.
Correct.
But you want, but
from everything that you're able to give them. But if you give them too much, then they're never going to have like that. Cause like, I don't know about your background, but I was raised by a single mom and we had almost no money. And to your point, like there were days where like my mom didn't eat so that I could, and that was just our scenario. I mean, I didn't know any better. And,
sure.
But it was that upbringing that provided me a lot of like the character and skill sets to navigate crisis, to really push, to to like operate on 3 to 4 hours of sleep because I'm just blessed to be in this position and to be so grateful, right? And
Yep.
I just don't want that for my children because, you know, I've worked hard to get to where I am.
Right.
At the same time, I'm sort of like, I need you to have that grit. I need you to
Yeah.
kind of be a badass and tell everyone, you
Well,
know, yeah,
sports can do that. Sports can do that for people. And
you're right.
I
Yep.
know, I mean, it can give you those moments of failure that aren't life shattering, right? Like that you can start. And that's why I really enjoy it. All right. Hit me a little bit. So we wrap at FanDuel. Where do
Yeah,
we go
Raptor
next?
FanDuel. I think I mentioned that, you know, I found out that I wanted to chase that
Yeah.
like, you know, tough scenario. And at the time, FanDuel was going really well. We had just been acquired, passport was repealed, like everything was about to, you know, be sunny skies. And one of my mentors was like, the second you stop learning is the second you need to start looking. Because I told him, I'm like, I can start doing this job in my sleep. Like things are just going really well. Like I'm not really learning as much. I'm golfing like once a week. Like, you know, it's kind of chilling. And I'm like,
Yeah, it's
kind of
nice.
good. Like, why am I going to mess this up? But, you know, then I got the opportunity to join a company called DAZN, DAZN, which is a global sports streaming service for people who are not familiar, to launch their US office. And, you know, this is a international company based out of London. They had no US presence whatsoever. And then candidly at the time, you know, streaming wasn't a thing, you know,
Right.
like it was Netflix, but
You were
everyone
early.
had cable for sports. So this is, you know, similar to being in betting before betting blew up. This was me getting into streaming before streaming blew up. And now everything's on streaming. So,
Yep.
you know, once again, got lucky. I did not know streaming was going to get to where it was, but I thought this was an awesome challenge to launch something from scratch and a totally different skill set of media and more international. And, you know, I went to DAZN. I launched the US market. I worked with the executive team, you know, to help scale that product from 9 countries to 200. And, you know, things were going really, really, really good. And all of a sudden COVID hit. And right when, you know, we were like kind of going. And then right when we may have, you know, reached the Earth's atmosphere is when COVID hit. And it was just like,
Yeah.
and, you know, once again, there's that, you know, failure, right? And it wasn't really like a failure of mine, but, you know, failure doesn't necessarily need to be something that is your fault. Sometimes you're just, you know, failure is just brought upon you because of circumstances out of your control. And, you know, navigated COVID. Unfortunately, I had to do layoffs. A lot of the people that I was working well with and I built relationships with, you know, went on to other places. And I'm sort of sitting here like, okay, I don't think this is where I'm going to be after COVID wraps up, however long it was going to be. Obviously, at the time, I didn't know. So what do I want to do? No one is hiring right now, obviously, because the world has stopped.
Yep.
And I started talking to some friends and some mentors, and they were like, why are you complaining? Like you're getting a salary. There's really not a lot to do. Just enjoy it while the rest of us are, you know, collecting severance or unemployment benefits.
Struggling.
And I was like, yeah, it's a good point, but that's just not the way my brain works. I like to stay busy. I like to stay curious. I like to grow. So I started consulting, candidly. Like I literally was just like, I have more to offer and I'm bored. Like I'm just bored. I want to do things. So I started letting people know, hey, you know, sure, I'm a lawyer by trade, but, you know, working in the tech and, you know, startup space, you kind of do everything, as I'm sure you're familiar. Like you don't get to just stay in your lane and be like, all right, I will only do legal stuff and anything else. That's your, like, no, you're all over the company as an exec. So I was like, I can provide business development. I can provide strategy. I can help connect. And I'm not going to think about compensation because I have a job. For me, this is more of a, how can I learn? How can I grow? How can I find projects that interest me, even if I'm not getting paid? And that's what I started doing. And, you know, I worked in cannabis mostly because I never understood and worked in cannabis. And I wanted to know how it works and what the rules are and the regulations and wanted to get familiar with it. I started working in women's sports. One of my first consulting clients was Just Women's Sports, which is per the name, a media company that covers just women's sports. That's doing quite well. And then I started, kind of messing around in crypto and Web3 and NFTs, just once again, new industry. Because if you look back at my career, all of the things where I found opportunities were industries that weren't established yet, where you really could like leave your mark on it because someone else didn't. And that's what I liked in betting before someone else made their mark, in streaming. So I wanted to do the same. Funny enough, and this is, how I got connected to you, but Sam Bankman-Fried, who is the founder of FTX, was a person that I got connected to, who was looking to do sports partnerships. Candidly, at the time, I had no idea who he was. I don't think anyone did. He was just, a dude that lived in Hong Kong that was running a crypto, crypto agency. And he got on a call with me, interviewed me, told me what he was trying to do. I told him, hey, those are things that I can do very easily. And I think I'm uniquely gifted to help you in this space. There was a lot of back and forth. I thought the quote unquote interview at 10 p.m. because he was on Hong Kong time went poorly. I was like, all right, cool, whatever. And like, it was funny because
I'm used to no's. It's fine.
Yeah, 55 no's. What's the 56? No big deal. And candidly, I think a lot of probably why I took that call the way I did is I didn't care. Like, I wasn't like, I really need this consulting client, because it was sort of like, yeah, this crypto, like, I want to learn more about it. Here's what I think. I'm not going to try and kiss your butt. I'm just going to tell you what I think and what you're doing. And I got a call from his COO literally like an hour later, and they were like, Sam loved you. He'd like to, engage with you, and let's come up with a relationship. And I stayed a consultant, and, I was a sports marketing consultant that did all of his sports partnerships. So, Major League Baseball and the umpire patch, Tom Brady, Stephen Curry, Naomi Osaka, Shohei Ohtani, the Larry David Super Bowl commercial, like, had my hands in all of it whether it came to negotiating, activating, papering. And look, I mean, obviously everyone knows, the FTX story didn't have a happy ending, unfortunately, but I'm really proud of doing my job, which was, to structure these relationships, to activate them, and to make everywhere sort of a world, recognized name. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
Now, thankfully,
and the brand was everywhere. I mean, it was, the job that you were tasked to do, you did. You did it really well. I mean, it was crazy.
Maybe too well, right? Maybe too well, right? But look, I mean, the nice thing is I was still the DAZN general counsel at the time. So it was still consulting on the side, which some people think is insane. They're like, did you sleep? And I was like, no, I didn't. But, once again, when you find the things that get you energized, you're not like doing those things energize you instead of like depleting you, right?
That's where you and I are so similar, because I mean, this is one of the challenges I had with corporate America. Was I have buddies who on a Saturday morning want to go golf for 5 or 6 hours. I'm not one of those guys. I actually get enjoyment out of starting a company. Like, it's what gets me. I really enjoy it. I've got 4 different ideas going right now of different things. Katie, my business partner, is like, hey man, let's just, I love that one. I love that one, but they're still out there. We're working on them. Like, we got different ideas. And that's just what, and I really struggled with that, because it was frowned upon to use your quote unquote free time to do anything else that could be considered a job. And it's like, I don't look at it as a job. I would do it for free. Like, I actually enjoy helping this company figure out what their problem is and giving them the solutions for it. But, I did the same thing. It was a side hustle for us. Of CUENTO was this thing we were just consulting on the side. And I think you're right. The people who truly love it, who are like, it'd be fun for me to learn your industry, and I would enjoy it, and hopefully I can help you find some solutions, because I'm pretty good at that, And
I mean, someone, I don't know if this is like a rap lyric or someone said this, but it's like, real hustlers have a 9 to 5 and a 5 to 9. Right. And, like, we probably get along because like that's what, like, I don't view myself as anything else but a hustler. Right.
Straight.
Like, I like to hustle. Like, I like to work hard. Look, I also like my, 5-hour round of golf too. And like the balance that comes with it, for sure. But, work hard, play hard is definitely like a big part of who I am. And so like,
somebody said to me the other day, it was an old boss of mine, which I think you'll love, because you just used the word hustler, and it's been tagged on me from early days, and I get it. Right. And he said, what I realized through my career because of you, which was cool. He said, there's a difference between a hard worker and a hustler. You can teach a hustler how to be a hard worker, but you can't teach a hard worker how to be a hustler. He was like, and I was like, God, I never thought about that. And he named people. He's like, great guy, hard worker, great guy, hard worker. He was like, but the hustler will find a solution. The hustler will, keep going because they don't know how to turn it off. And I think that's a really, and that's probably, you're 100% right, why you and I get along, because we would do this for free. Like, this is fun for us. And all the above. All right. So we're consulting today, right? That's what we're like. That's
So after the FTX stuff, wrapped up, I kind of just realized I just didn't really enjoy being a W-2 employee and working for someone else, even though it was like a very awesome job. And, DAZN is doing well post COVID. And in fact, I told my boss at DAZN, and DAZN was actually my first official consulting client after I quit my DAZN job, which is funny, right? Everything else was side hustles, but I never formalized it. When I formalized going off and running my own consultancy, which is kind of, and if take a break, try and figure out how things fall. Yeah, DAZN was my first client, and and they helped set me up, and I worked with them, and then that kept allowing me to get on and bring on more clients and do more things. And that's what I do now. And what I thought was going to be, a 6-month experiment. I was like, let me do this for as long as I can get away with it. It was really what I was thinking. I was like, let me see how I can get away with this. Can I work for myself, make enough money, and continue to pique my intellectual curiosity enough to do this for as long as I can, and, pay my mortgage and provide for my family. And if it doesn't work out, cool, I'll go get a job. Those aren't going anywhere. But what I thought was going to be 6 months is now, I think, probably about to be 3 years now.
Yeah. I remember we talked when you were jumping in.
Yeah, dude,
first. That's amazing, man.
Yeah. And you were excited for me, which I think you probably did something similar and saw similarities in it. And I found that really calming, right? To hear from people whose opinion I respected, to not think I'm being crazy. Yeah. And that was important. And that goes back to your vibe attracts your tribe. And my tribe was very much dude, bet on yourself, go out and do it.
Absolutely.
And if it doesn't work out, the world is still here.
One of my favorite parts, and you're probably feeling this now too, now that you've had success in it, of doing this, of how many people reach out and go, oh my God, that's the dream. You're living the dream. You're living the dream. And it's I always tell them the good and the bad, and I lean on the bad because I want to scare you a little bit, because it isn't a dream, right? It's amazing. But there's good and bad days, right? We all know it's like anything else, but there is the magic to it. If how long can I get away with it? I mean, it changed for us when we start bringing on employees, because then it was oh, this is becoming real. And now we're at 17 employees, and you're like, okay, this is very, but it's the energy that we get to have these conversations with folks. And when you called, and I was like, let's go, dude. I would bet on you all day. You need to bet on you. Let's go. And I'm fired up for you, man. Congrats.
No, I appreciate it. And you use the right word, bet, right? Coming from, starting at least my sports career in betting, you have to be willing to bet on yourself. Because if you're not going to bet on yourself, right? Who else will? That's really my lesson to a lot of people, right? It's you need to have a lot of perseverance and go through the 55, 100, 200 no's that you need to get and find what you need to do, and learn from your failures and embrace the failures. But really, you need to have that confidence. You need to have that swag. You need to bet on yourself. Because if you're not going to bet on yourself, how can you expect other people to bet on you? Right. So, right now what I do is, I consult with a lot of sports affiliated brands, athletes that need help. I sit on some boards, and then I do a little angel investing too. Honestly, the one I'm most excited about, which I actually closed 2 weeks ago, is I became a minority investor of Ipswich Town FC, which is, an English football team.
Yeah.
Pretty excited about that. Never.
That's amazing. Congrats.
Yeah, dude. So, for anyone listening, go watch Ipswich Town. Plus, and and buy some merch and support them. And we're the level below Premier League. And I don't know people who aren't familiar, but top 3 teams in the Championship League go to the Premier League. Bottom 3 in Premier get relegated to Championship. Obviously, getting up there is a huge revenue boost. And then you're playing with the big boys like Chelsea and Tottenham. And, we're positioned and expected to be promoted this year.
Wow.
But to your point again, though, like, even if we're not, even if I don't make, the return that I'm expecting and projected to make, I'm going to have a blast on this journey. I'm going to have a blast on this journey of having a piece of this team. And now I'm like so invested in like every match and
you're the truest fan, man. So I hope they know they didn't just get money. They got the biggest fan in the world. Like,
100%. And candidly, like my brain starts like going all over the place on ways I can help. Obviously, I'm not going to help them score goals, but I have thoughts. I have ideas from like a commercial side, from relationships, from media strategy, from social, from all of that stuff too. And, so yeah, like I get the question all the time, like, what do you do? And sort of like the easiest way to say is technically I'm like unemployed, right? Like some people probably assume that, but like I just stopped caring what people think. And like for me, it's I do what makes me happy. I try to add value and I keep an extremely open mind on the opportunities that come my way. And I kind of trust in my network and myself that, I'll always have interesting enough opportunities to keep me going. And look, maybe the next time we chat, I will have taken a role that was really exciting. Who knows? But
that's okay.
I'm gonna, and then it's not a failure either. It's just, for me, it's just being happy, right? And really being excited about the stuff you're working on. Like that's like something you can never get back.
So not shocking to you, when you and I get together, we get excited and we talk and it just gets going, right? We have just set the record on this show of 45 minutes before we even got through how your career got your journey, which is great. I love it. That makes me excited. That means that, like, because there's just so much in there, like your journey. That's why I was so excited about having you on here, because there's brands that people know, but the story of it when we met, I'm like, holy shit, dude, you've done some crazy things. I love that stuff. So, all right, I'm gonna hit you. So got to get in the lesson from sports. So like something that you've taken from the world of sports, playing sports, whatever, that you really use to help succeed in life and happiness.
For me, it's resilience, right? Like I think resilience is a big part of being successful in sports, whether you're a player or a fan, honestly, right? And, your ability to adapt and persevere and turn like what everyone views as setbacks into like victories is really important, and really something that you can apply to not just being an athlete, but also being a human, right? Like we've said this unintentionally throughout this podcast. It's really easy when things are going well. It really is, right? When everything's going your way, it's really easy. But when things are going bad and you can still find ways to stay positive and push forward and find the silver lining and add value and keep everyone up with you, that's when, you're doing something special and you're doing something right. So yeah, like just persevering and being resilient.
Yeah, I love it. And you're right. I don't see it enough, I think, because I put that on my back a lot, of like being that person that's going to bring that energy to the table. But in talking with others and realizing there's some folks that just don't, that's not their strength, right? It is yours. It is mine. It's one of the things that we do in our just natural being. We're going to bring energy to the room. And so your team relies on that for you. And I think that's something that as I got older, I realized just how important that was, that, and you can control it, right? Like you have to realize that is important to the ecosystem that you're in that you're living in every day, that you can bring that energy, that we're going to get through this, guys. We're going to get through it together.
Yep.
So last couple things is, talking about the career that you've had and, when you got in on the corporate side and transitioning to now being a consultant like me, I love this stuff. what advice would you give to a kid that, I told you when I envisioned this podcast, it was just like, most people don't get to talk to you or me, right? Like they're sitting in wherever they are in whatever part of the country or the world going, man, I'd love to do that. Like I would love to, one day help brands go from zero to being on every billboard in the country and the biggest, companies that everybody knows today. What advice would you give to a kid that really wants to get in on that side?
Okay. So many pieces of advice I'd like to share, but if I had to think about the top ones that pop out, the first is treating people with kindness.
Yeah, I love that.
I think a lot of people in our industry are very transactional. To your point, we talked about this earlier, what's your brand? What, Fortune 100 company do you work for? What is your budget? How can you help me?
How can you help me?
Yeah, or what can I sell you? What can you buy? And I think a lot of my success came from just building organic, real relationships.
Yep.
There are people that are really, rich and successful that I don't care about building a relationship with because I just didn't we just didn't vibe. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's building those real organic relationships with people where you're not trying to pull teeth to be friends. And and it's not because they're a VP or SVP. I treat the janitor, I treat the secretary the same way I treat the founder of a company. Not because I think, hey, this person might turn it, but they might have a cousin or a brother. And a lot of the work that has come from me have always come from the people that I least expected. It's never the founder. It's a random person I ran into at a bar where we just had a good conversation. And then they're like, oh, and by the way, you should meet so-and-so. So it's building those organic relationships that aren't transactional and treating everyone with kindness is one. And then two is just believing in yourself.
Yeah.
I think we all have possibly in these tough industries, imposter syndrome, whether it's based on where you grew up or what college you didn't go to or what skin color, gender, whatever, right? A lot of people sometimes look around and just don't feel like they belong. But if you buy into that and don't believe in yourself and have that swag that comes along with it, you're just doing yourself a disservice. So just really, really believe in the work that you've done and, the skills that you've been blessed with and go out there with swag, right? Is probably the second one.
Yeah, those are phenomenal. And so right? It's just I love it, dude, because those are things that I love both of those because they're impactful. And by the way, that you can make that change. You could change the way you interact with people, and you can make sure you're not just trying to transact with every human you interact with. And, listen, some people that's just going to be what it's going to be. But people like you and I, it's probably not going to be someone that we're going to want to get in our circle and want to be close with, because it's what do you have to offer me doesn't work all the time. It's listen, there comes a time when it's hey man, can you help me with this? And then real people will step up. And that's very different than hey, I just met you. Can you do a deal with me? It's whoa.
No, look, and I like what you said, the kindness thing is sort of something that tomorrow you can start.
Tomorrow.
Right? There's no excuse to not be kind to everyone and just build full relationships. The belief thing takes time, takes experience, takes maturity. Even I still, to this point, still have moments where I'm I gotta remember, but just keeping it in mind and making it a goal of yours and something that you're continually working on is important. And sorry, one final thing, just because I think this is important, is block out the noise. Stop worrying what everyone else thinks. I think
it's a great one.
Especially in this industry, everyone cares so much what, that person thinks and what's on LinkedIn and, what my title is. And it just doesn't matter. You're going to look back on your life and you're going to be I cannot believe I wasted time and energy trying to negotiate whether I was an SVP or a VP or a chief this or a chief that. Do you like your job? Are you getting paid well? Do you have a seat at the table? Are you valued?
Are you valued? That's you beat me. Do you feel value in what you're providing, and do they treat you with that same value in exchange? And that's the name of the game. And I'm with you on that. I love that. Last question.
Sure.
So I wrap up every show, I'm going to bring some positive energy to the table.
Love it.
What's the best part about what you do every day now?
Honestly, it's ownership and freedom. That all the money in the world, all the titles, all the cool jobs and sporting events that I get to go to, like all cool perks, right?
For sure.
But having ownership and freedom in what I do every morning, so that when I do take time away from my family, my wife, my kids, my friends to do something, it's because I chose to do it. It's because it's important to me. It's because, to your point, like I feel valued and I feel like I can add value. Like that is a drug that is extremely addictive. It's not about.
It will make you work so hard to keep it.
Correct.
It's the one thing that like I've strived for the title. I've done all those things. This thing, you said it best. It is a drug because when you get it, there's a feeling that comes along with it of like, I mean, when I told you, when I left the pods, the number one thing my wife, now she gets to set the family travel schedule first. We always had to wait for the team schedule. Now, for the first time, we have control. Now, the rest of the year, I got to go work. But like,
of course,
that first layer is now ours. And that there's just something about it. And like people asking, can you come versus you will come is a very different conversation.
Dude,
and
being empowered to say no is one of the coolest things ever.
But you earn it. I don't want people to think that that's something you can get like you earned that. You worked your ass off for that.
100%. Like you have to do the grunt work. You have to take the sacrifices. You have to be a yes person, unfortunately, early in your career and build your way to that. But for me, it was just more like, I didn't know I was working towards this. I wish I did. You know what I mean? Like I sort of like fell into it. And once I got a taste of that, I'm like, oh my God, I got to keep this ownership. I got to keep this freedom. I got to keep this, opportunity. But I feel like if people stop chasing titles and stuff that doesn't matter and other people's opinions, there's that saying, right? You spend all your time working at a job you don't like to buy things you don't need to impress people you don't like, right? Like it's crazy. And I was that person. So like I'm thinking this is a person who made those mistakes. Did those things. And now hopefully when people listen to this podcast and listen to you, they're like, hopefully they come to these realizations a little bit earlier in their career. Which I wish I did, but I didn't. But I'm happy I came to them at all.
Hey, here we are. Dude, thank you so much for taking the time. This has been amazing. Like your journey, I enjoy watching it. I told you, you're one of my favorite follows on Instagram, just because you're real. Like you share it. I try to do the same thing. And like, you live on the other side of the country, but I'm able to like feel like I'm keeping up with what you're up to and like check in and be like, bro, the seats were sick last night or whatever, like I love it, like big win or whatever. Thank you for taking the time. It really does mean a lot to me. So can't wait to break bread with you next time I'm in New York.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I'll do the same if I find myself on the West Coast, man. I appreciate you. It's been a privilege and a pleasure for sure.
Yeah, dude. Thanks.